Judge Amanda Miller, an experienced African-American jurist in her early 40s, encountered an unexpected situation at the courthouse. On the day of an important case, she was initially prevented from entering the courtroom by police officers who did not recognize her. This incident led to a series of events that would impact both Judge Miller's career and broader discussions about racial bias in the justice system. The morning dawned as any other, except for the weight of a high-profile embezzlement case. Amanda Miller, a seasoned judge, stood before her mirror, the familiar ritual of adjusting her robe a comforting routine. Her dark eyes, reflecting a quiet determination, were framed by neatly tied braids. Today was no ordinary day. As she exited her apartment, the usual bustle of the city was muted by the early hour. Her favorite cafe was her first stop, a familiar pit stop before the courthouse. The sun was just beginning to peek over the horizon as she arrived, casting long shadows across the steps. A group of police officers stationed outside the gates caught her attention. It wasn't unusual given the case's high profile, but something felt amiss. A tall, burly officer named Reeves stepped forward, blocking her path. "Ma'am, this is a restricted area," he said, his tone firm. Amanda was taken aback. "Excuse me?" she replied, adjusting her briefcase. "I'm Judge Miller. I'm presiding over the case this morning." Reeves's eyes narrowed. "You're a judge?" he asked incredulously. "I don't think so. Judges don't arrive here on foot, and they sure don't look like you." A wave of disbelief washed over Amanda. She had faced subtle racism throughout her career, but this was different. Her mind raced as she tried to comprehend the situation. "I assure you I am Judge Amanda Miller. My chambers are inside and I need to be in court in less than an hour. Please step aside." Reeves crossed his arms. "Look, lady, I don't know who you think you are, but you're not going anywhere near this building. We're under strict orders not to let anyone in without prior clearance." Amanda's anger began to simmer. "I don't need clearance," she said, her voice growing sharper. "This is my courthouse, and I'm due to preside over a case. If you don't let me through, I'll have to report this." Reeves scoffed. "Report it to who? You? I doubt anyone's going to listen to some random woman claiming to be a judge." A small crowd had gathered, their eyes fixed on the unfolding drama. Amanda felt their judgment like a physical weight, but she refused to be humiliated. "I have my identification," she said, producing her judicial ID. Reeves glanced at it dismissively, returning it with a smirk. "Nice try," he sneered. Amanda's anger was a burning ember. She'd worked too hard to be treated like this. "I will call the courthouse right now," she said, her voice low and dangerous. Reeves shrugged. "Go ahead. I'll wait." Amanda dialed her clerk, Susan, who answered immediately. "Susan, it's Judge Miller. I'm outside and there seems to be a misunderstanding." Susan arrived moments later, her face etched with concern. "Judge Miller, I'm so sorry," she said, glaring at Reeves. "This is unacceptable." Reeves's arrogance faltered as Susan approached, holding up her own ID. "This is the judge, Officer Reeves. You've made a serious mistake." Reeves looked from Susan to Amanda, his smugness wavering. But before he could respond, a voice cut through the tension. "What's going on here?" A man in a sharp suit stepped forward. It was Chief Justice Franklin, Amanda's superior and a respected figure in the legal community. Amanda took a deep breath. "Chief Justice Franklin, this officer has refused to let me into the courthouse despite my repeated explanations." Chief Justice Franklin's face darkened. "Officer, do you have any idea who this woman is? She's one of the most distinguished judges in this city, and you've just insulted her in front of witnesses." Reeves opened his mouth, but no words came out. His earlier confidence had evaporated, replaced by a flustered demeanor. I didn't know," he stammered. "That's the problem," Franklin said icily. "You didn't bother to find out. You saw a black woman and made an assumption, and now you've embarrassed this court and yourself." Amanda watched the scene unfold, a silent fury simmering beneath the surface. She yearned to lash out, but she knew that wouldn't solve anything. People like Reeves rarely learned their lesson, but she had a plan to ensure he never made this mistake again. "Chief Justice," Amanda began, her voice calm but steady. "I appreciate your support, but I'd like to handle this situation myself." Franklin raised an eyebrow, clearly surprised. "Are you sure, Judge Miller?" She nodded. "Yes, it's important." Franklin stepped aside, allowing Amanda to confront Reeves directly. The officer stood there, shifting uncomfortably under her gaze. "Officer Reeves," Amanda said firmly, "I don't know what your experience with judges has been, but let me be clear. Your job is to protect and serve, not to judge people based on their appearance. I shouldn't have to prove my worth or my position to you or anyone else. The fact that you assumed I wasn't a judge says more about your biases than it says about me." Reeves swallowed hard, his face reddening. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean—" Amanda held up a hand, cutting him off. "This isn't just about me. This is about every person who looks like me and faces this kind of treatment every day. It's about making sure that people like you don't stand in the way of justice simply because you can't see past the color of someone's skin." The crowd began to murmur, nodding in agreement, some even applauding quietly. "I don't want your apology, Officer Reeves," Amanda said, her voice softer now, but no less firm. "What I want is for you to learn from this. Take a hard look at yourself and ask why you treated me the way that you did, and then do better." With that, Amanda turned and walked toward the courthouse entrance, her head held high. Chief Justice Franklin followed close behind, casting one last disapproving glance at Reeves. As Amanda stepped into the courthouse, the gravity of the moment settled upon her. She had stood up not just for herself, but for every black woman who had ever been told they didn't belong, who had been forced to prove their worth repeatedly. Later that day, as she presided over the embezzlement case, Amanda remained composed and focused. Yet the incident outside lingered in the back of her mind. It was a stark reminder that despite her position, battles still needed to be fought, and she was ready. This story is a testament to the power of resilience and self-respect in the face of injustice. Judge Amanda Miller's experience highlights how even in positions of authority, people can face discrimination based solely on appearance. Despite being denied entry to the very courthouse she presided over, Amanda's response is a powerful reminder of how to confront prejudice with dignity. Instead of letting anger or frustration take over, she used the moment to educate, reminding us that addressing bias head-on can bring about real change. What's even more inspiring is Amanda's choice to handle the situation herself. By doing so, she took control of the narrative, ensuring that the lesson wasn't just about her personal experience, but about the broader issue of how people are judged based on race, gender, or status. This story encourages us to think about how we can stand up for ourselves and others when faced with unfair treatment. What would you do in Amanda's situation? How would you react if you were judged unfairly based on your appearance or identity? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's start a conversation about the importance of challenging bias and standing up for what's right. What steps can we take to create more inclusive environments for everyone?